So I just mentioned between segments about my second brain. Peter said we should do a segment on the second brain. So let's get to it. So there's this idea of a second brain or an open brain. Nate B. Jones talks about it, his open brain. Cole Medin is another YouTuber I follow, has his second brain project. But basically, it is creating a database of articles that are stored and available to the LLM as context when I am chatting. So if I want to have something as a memory or be able to find it later or be able to refer back to it later, it is in my second brain. I have a buddy who for years, decades, has kept a Microsoft OneNote notebook. And every time he comes across an article that he thinks is interesting, pastes it into that notebook. And now it just has like this huge catalog of articles that he has for reference whenever he wants. So I started building it. And this also, there's Andrew Karpathy wrote a article, started talking about this idea of a compiled wiki. And so the idea there is you clip an article and then you use the LLM to read the article and incorporate it into a wiki that is essentially everything you know, your entire knowledge base. You add this article, it'll add it into your wiki as a related supporting article. And so I tried to take all the related concepts and created my own MCP server that I host in Google Cloud Platform, tied to a Supabase Postgres database with VectorPG. And I use that database both for vector search and for edge graphing so that I can connect related ideas. And whenever I come across an article that I want, I clip it as a markdown file into my second brain, compile everything. And it's actually been very helpful, but there definitely have been some maybe frustrations along the way.
Tell me about the frustrations. I'm curious. What went wrong?
Well, I think that the main thing is the Claude trying to be too helpful. So what I tend to ask a lot of questions in kind of like a greenfield framing because I want to explore an idea from a different angle and step away from what I already know about it. So sometimes I'll start a new session, start a discussion about a topic, and Claude will say, "Oh, well, here's all the things you already know about it." Like, yeah, I know what I already know about it. I want to know new things.
Okay.
And so I've had to tell it, like, don't use these things unless I specifically ask for what do I already know, or there's a system instruction I think we talked about last time about things like that. The other frustration is ingesting content. A lot of the content I consume is YouTube videos, for good or bad. So what I've ended up doing is there's an Obsidian web clipper utility, and my vault is not Obsidian based. I use the Karpathy method, I think, uses an Obsidian vault, maybe a Notion. Notion is another one. A lot of people use those as the foundation for their second brain. I'm actually using a Git repo so that I can keep the entire thing in the cloud and connect to my same second brain from any LLM, any computer, from my phone, wherever, without having to be bound to my PC. But the Obsidian web clipper will extract the video transcript from a YouTube video, and then I upload that as Markdown into my second brain for analysis.
Wow.
Synthesis.
Okay. And are you doing? Whose tokens are you using to facilitate all this?
I have a paid Anthropic subscription, $20 a month, and during development, I will very often hit my session and sometimes weekly limits. So then I just set an alarm for 2:30 a.m. to log into my desktop session and type resume, and then it picks up where it left off and I go through.
Wow. Okay. This is cool. This is very cool. I think that the habit of taking notes and stuff over time is something that a lot of people do. I've done it. I have 3 sets of notes. One is I have a directory, which is publicly visible, by the way, and it's called Misc Useful. And I have been, hang on, let me just check. I think I have been compiling lists of Misc Useful stuff since my LTR. right? The earliest one is 2002. And this is a tool for using backticks in Bash.
Is your first thing that you stored as a useful tip?
Well, actually, it's a bit of a lie. That's not the fifth thing. The first thing is called 32-bit mode graphics in X, but I don't think anybody would know what I'm talking about if I said that. The next couple of ones are to do with FreeBSD. But the next, yes, 2002, how to use backticks in Bash. And I have in here, let's see, 248 files. And I even have a little Bash alias that is VIMU, which is
in 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's all things that. But the reason I started keeping it was because it was things where it took me a while to figure out, and things that I couldn't remember. So I know that there's a trick to how you use backticks and like escaping and stuff in Bash, and I wanted to like keep a copy of it, and that was my original intent. And then it just became like a list of files. So yeah, and then I have another one which is like just daily stuff. I have a directory on my computer which is like, I don't know, must be thousands of files going back years of like notes of like holidays and research and stuff that I've been doing, and just like clips of things. So yeah, I think this is sort of
a really fun and interesting consequence that I still don't have fully sorted is thinking through the different kinds of knowledge that you have. So like some articles I come across and I just think are interesting, so I might save it because it's interesting. Some I might save because they're informative and helpful, or some might save just to think about later. But then there are things that are just like a thought. So, oh, I learned how to do this thing with backticks. I don't have an article for it. So is that a wiki page? Like, what does that end up becoming? Or I want to be reminded to look into something later. Hey, I'm curious about why can't I think of an example of the things I'm curious about it? Oh,
the Seychelles.
I came across this.
Great white sharks.
What was it? What was your example?
Great white sharks.
Sure. Remind me to look into great white sharks later. So these are all different kinds of information that have to be accounted for and handled differently, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll have a chat with a LLM and something about that session was interesting to me, so I record it. But I don't really record it as a memory because I'm just feeding myself my own memories. But how do I capture that thought? So going through this exercise of figuring out how to handle these different layers or levels of epistemic knowledge, I think is really interesting. Yeah, and I don't have a lot of it worked out.
It comes back to sort of ontology probably, like of just the classification of, or the categorization of different types of information.
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating.
It is. It's been a really interesting experience.
Yeah.